As a part of the Broken Silence update for the Long Dark, we were introduced to Sutherland the Trader. Through his tale, we learned about a group of preppers and their activities across Great Bear Island. Not only are these preppers connected to the trader's past, but they are also relevant to the story of every prepper in the game that we know of. Through this 3-part mini-series, I want to explore the origins of the prepper caches and the mysterious preppers below their hatches. This is The Preppers of Great Bear Island, Part 1, Wyatt the Inventor. Wyatt's story begins the same way as his brother's does, likely being born within the misanthrope's homestead just off of the coastal highway. Both brothers, Sutherland included, were born from their people-hating father, the misanthrope behind the island. There is no information on their mother whatsoever. Due to the character of their father, it is likely they were both born within the homestead. Wyatt would grow up to be a shut-in and more creative than Sutherland, who grew to love traveling and the sea. Wyatt also hated the homestead for being too out in the open. Despite there being very little in the way of society nearby, he desired to be more concealed. From the various notes found during Sutherland's tale, as well as the details from Sutherland himself, we can speculate that Wyatt was a creative and had a knack for writing and designing. He also had a following that one could describe as an end-of-the-world cult. The stockpiler, the trophy hunter, and the conspiracy theorist are the 3 other preppers involved in Wyatt's story. Through their shared interest in prepping and the fear of the end times, they stuck together and became friends. At least they seemed like friends until reviewing the documents from Sutherland's tale. It is important to note what exactly it was that Wyatt and these preppers were preparing for. It was nuclear Armageddon. Just based on Sutherland's voice, his tale, and the experiences he shared, I believe he and Wyatt grew up during the 60s and 70s, right in the middle of the Cold War. Canada's alignment with Western ideology placed it at odds with the East, but it was the Gauzenko affair in February 1946 that would really kick off the fear of Soviet activities in Canada and the Western world. It was revealed that the Soviets had been spying on the West during the Second World War, and this would set the stage for the Red Scare and the Cold War as we know it. Within the Long Dark, we know that both World Wars and the Cold War occurred. The Cold War is likely one of the drivers behind the booming mining industry on the island, but that is just me speculating. The Langston mine in the Far Territory was in fact a coal mine turned uranium mine, which would help fuel Canada during the nuclear age. It's obvious from his speculated age, which is well into his 60s or higher, that Sutherland and Wyatt both grew up with the Red Menace threat. They both had differing opinions on nuclear annihilation, seeing as Sutherland was more interested in the open seas and seeing the sun. Otherwise, he cared not if bombs were to be dropped one day. Wyatt, on the other hand, was afraid of it. It is likely why he found himself designing personal bunkers and surrounding himself with people that had the same fears as him. He even wrote down how Great Bear Island was perfect for his escape from the apocalypse, as the mainland would have too many distractions from the warning signs. While it is difficult to tell when the caches were completed, it is possible that the Cold War was long over. Afterwards though, there would be a new worldwide event that would shake the foundation of society as a whole: the collapse. For at least 10 years, Wyatt and the preppers could have been growing a similar fear they had found due to their experience during the Cold War. It is very likely that the collapse and its devastating effects on Great Bear Island caused these fears to return. An unstable world had the potential to light the spark needed to bring a final light. Regardless of when the caches were completed, these preppers had the motivation to see them built. Wyatt would construct many prepper caches across the island. His first one was for an old man named Tom Joplin, which he built in Pleasant Valley at the foot of the climb to the Timberwolf Mountain region. He would have never guessed that this prepper cache, his first one, would be his tomb following the quiet apocalypse. In the end, Wyatt's story would end in betrayal at the hands of his so-called friends. And that is just one half of the story of Wyatt, the inventor and Sutherland's brother. The other half will be told in part 2 of The Preppers of Great Bear Island, as it is more directly tied to the actions of his crew of preppers. Wyatt's story is foundational to the existence of the prepper caches found across Great Bear Island. He and his prepper friends also provide an important glimpse into the mind of the other preppers, which I will talk about in part 3. The other preppers include Tom Joplin, Hank, who already received his own video, and the suspicious person who also kind of received his own video. Even if this apocalypse is here to stay, Every long dark tunnel has light at the other end. All one can hope is to live long enough to see the beauty in between the darkness and the light.